Hello, my name is John. I work for Sightseeing.
Oh, thank you.
The question was, how many stories are there in New York City? There's millions of stories. I grew up in a small town, and now I'm in the big city trying to make a living, basically.
Okay, my name is Aisha. I'm from Pakistan, and I live in Queens. And so how many stories does New York City have? I can't give the exact number, but the density is thick, so I think 9 million, I'm not sure. I'm in the city waiting for my friend. I'm coming from school. I go to Queens College. I'm majoring in accounting, and currently I'm working for a corporation. And that's about it.
What can I answer for you? This is a beautiful day in New York City. We're sitting in Bryant Park. One couldn't have asked for better sunshine, perhaps maybe 5 degrees warmer, but we're in the, jungle of people and buildings and looking at stories within each person that we're seeing walking by. How many stories? Well, as in stories within people, I think there's about 8 or 9 million, because that's about how many people there are, and I guess every person has a unique story. This is a city of stories. This is a city where dreams are made and broken, and hearts are stolen and broken, and I'm sure if you speak to 8 million people, you'll probably get 8 million stories. That's the best way I can answer that question. Well, I am waiting for a friend to have a coffee with and perhaps go see a movie. I am a first generation New Yorker, but I've been here for 25 plus years and make a living here and wouldn't live any other city. After living in New York for that long, it's just it's got a certain way of life that I find difficult to find anywhere else. That's my story.
Hi, hello. Oh, New York City is amazing city. It's how many stores? I don't know exactly, but definitely it's million stores around here every day. And it's a beautiful and interesting city. I love it. Oh, my story is a really long story. And yes, I have been living here like 9 years, and from Japan, Tokyo. And first of all, I love the city, and because it's an article and more interesting, you can meet more people. And my story is simple and difficult. Simple ways I make a living here, enjoy the city. And difficult to say is, of course, not easy. And but I still love the city.
Okay, I'm Jasmine. Well, I think New York City in itself has thousands or millions of stories, considering there are so many activities, so many people from different walks of life that actually reside in the city. So it's on a constant with stories going on. Well, my story is actually looking at the amount of people that are unemployed, trying to make ends meet, trying to raise a family. Most people today are pretty much financially strapped. The economy's not getting better. And so everyone is pretty much hopeful because we're hoping that tomorrow we're going to wake up and there'll be better jobs, more opportunities, no matter what the education level that you may have or the skill set. People want to be able to pay their bills, live comfortably, not necessarily rich, but would like to be able to pay their bills. And a decent life, pretty much.
Stands an attainder of eternal shame. Suggestions are to others as to me. But I believe, though I seem so low, I am the last that will last keep his oath.
But is there no quick recreation, Ratty?
Aye, there is.
Steven Spielberg. I'm the videographer, director, editor, photographer in New York City. Let me see, how many stories are in New York City? Well, the common answer to that is 8 million stories. If you ask any real New Yorker, they'll tell you 8 million stories. It's a lot more than that. You figure per individual, over a period of time, oh Lord, you're looking at billions of stories really in New York. It's always moving, the city never stops. 3 o'clock in the morning, there's a story going on. So yeah, I'd say instead of 8 million stories, I'd bump it up to about 8 billion stories. Factor in the my story, I'm a filmmaker. Been a filmmaker for about 4 years. And loved it ever since. I used to work in insurance, retail, professional industries. After they tanked pretty much, I figured out I better try something on my own. When I started doing filmmaking, I found that I really loved it. And the reason why I started making films is because I hired someone to shoot a video for me, and that guy never showed up. So I went out and I said, you know what, I'm never going to be stranded like that again. It was a very cold morning on top of the Brooklyn Bridge. I was standing there for 2 hours waiting on a guy to show up and shoot a video for me. He never showed up. So ever since then, I picked up a camera and never put it down since. I figured since that day, it's the love of my life. I'll never put it down. You'll have to kill me first. That's about it. That's my story.
My name's Garrett Buell Robinson, and I'm a new resident to New York City. I've only been here for about 2.5 years, and I'm a big fan of dance. I've been a fan of dance for the last 20 years. I was introduced to dance through poetry, and I write poetry about dance quite often too, as well as quite a number of other topics. But when I first moved to New York City, one of my priorities was to see the New York City Ballet. I've been familiar with George Balanchine's works, and I'd seen his works performed by other companies at other cities in the United States, but never in New York City, never by the City Ballet, his company, or performed at the Lincoln Center. So one of my priorities upon moving here was to see one of the performances. And in 2011, at the beginning of May, I saw my first performance of the New York City Ballet in the Lincoln Center. And I bought the ticket that day, so I got a seat in the 5th tier in the wings, so I was stooped underneath the ceiling. But before the performance, I was sitting in my seat, and the conductor walked out and everyone applauded, and the conductor stood at the podium, and in that moment, just that pause and that absolute just pristine silence, I heard the phrase come to my mind, and it said, "In humanity, I see grace, beauty, and dignity." And then the conductor raised a baton, he moved the orchestra into the movement of the music, the curtain rose, and the dance began. It was my first performance of the New York City Ballet. And the first performance that I saw was Concerto Barocco. Now, I've been working on ideas for a large poetic piece on dance for about 15 years, just developing ideas. I was never able to really get it together until last year. Finally, I wrote this poem, Martha, named after Martha Graham, that explores my ideas of dance and music, and it pretty much all came from, unfolded from that line. And I'll read you from that line toward the conclusion, the finale, where the dance begins, where she performs a world premiere performance. Upon the stage, Martha stands in her place and waits. Her body is lunging to move in every direction at once. Beyond the curtain, the clatter of clapping, then a sudden hush. The conductor stands upon the podium, a glowing figure in the darkness, before the sparkling polish of the instruments. At one moment, there is perfect silence, as if space was the surface of a placid lake. The speaker announces, "In humanity, I see grace, beauty, and dignity. Here, let me show you." Then the curtain lifts with a rush of Niagara. The music moves, filling the openness with consoling tones, a melody of the woods twirling ribbons of wind. And gently, the dance begins. Thank you. Well, the question is, how many stories does New York City have? I would say that New York City has as many stories as there are people that populate this city and visit this city, and a story for every single instant a person spends here. So the number of stories here are absolutely innumerable.